All right, you guys. Well, welcome to another episode of TJU on Air. Today, I have a very special guest, and this is somebody that I don't think anybody would expect to be here today. Brad Podray,
That's right. That's me. What's up?
formerly known as.
Scumbag Dad. That's right. I changed the name to be more work safe so I could get more money and stop getting banned from different platforms.
That does help.
Yeah, it sure
getting
does.
banned sucks.
Yeah, things have gotten a lot better objectively since the name change, but I do miss the old name. You know, I thought it represented my humor a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, but it's still kind of Brad Dad in a sense, right?
Brad Podray, you know, I'm just a regular dad making posts and weird content these days, and I'm happy you got in touch and invited me onto the show. This is a very unique opportunity to chat with somebody who makes the kind of content you do, because I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions about me and sort of like how I make fun of the type of charity content that you do, and I just want to thank you for having the opportunity to clear the air on like a legitimate kindness channel.
Yeah, I don't like to call it a kindness channel, but unfortunately, that's where I'm at. That's what it is. That is the group that I'm pulled into.
And it's such a shame too, because I feel like the word kindness content, especially for me, it's like almost a sarcastic slur. Like when I say somebody's a kindness creator, I don't mean like I like them, but I would just say you're a charity creator. You know, maybe that's a little bit better.
Sure. I mean, I just break it down real simple and I just say I help people.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't want to be pulled in with other people that do things just for views and don't really care about the outcome afterward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I try to do things a little bit different myself. But I need to know, like, what is it about you that made you have this vendetta toward kindness creators?
So it's a long story, but I'll try to compact it as much as I can. Very early, like in my first year at TikTok, I wanted to make fun of somebody who used a homeless person for content. And it was a very simple skit. It was a skit where I pulled up to a homeless guy who was local to my neighborhood. I said, "Hey, man, you ever heard of TikTok?" I took him out for some sandwiches. We sat down and I showed him a bunch of TikToks of like charity or kindness content. And I said, "Look, I'm going to give you money and I'm going to give you sandwiches tomorrow. All I want you to do is give me this little piece of paper back that says good for 1 million likes." And then I would turn to the camera and say, "Finally, I got what I wanted." Very simple joke. You know, "Hey guys, here I'm going to help the homeless." Then he gives me the coupon for 1 million likes and I smile at the camera. We ran the video. Everything was fine. I posted it. I was a much smaller account and I got 30,000 views within like an hour. And I showed it to him and he got really mad. And I was like, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "You made me look homeless." And I'm like, I mean, I didn't really do anything. You know, you're living under a bridge. But the point was that he asked me to take it down and I did. And I thought, wow, you mean to tell me that I can feed this guy and give him sandwiches and he still doesn't want to be on camera? And this was sort of my first little like trigger into understanding, you know, what kindness content would become. You know, guys like MD Motivator and Jimmy Darts would sort of explode on these charitable videos of giving to the homeless. They'd strap a camera to themselves and they would just kind of do it. And then I think I started to roast it a little bit because I thought it was a little goofy after that one experience. But then I think about a year later, I saw a video by a guy named Josh Lil J who made a kindness video in a hot dog restaurant, and he cut the video to make the hot dog vendor look like a huge asshole. And that hot dog vendor's business, their Google reviews got slammed to the ground. 1-star reviews all over the place. So I called the guy up. I tracked down the restaurant. I got the real story. And he's just like a regular salt of the earth, you know, hot dog guy who didn't really want to be in a YouTube video.
Yeah.
And I found it very offensive that someone who claims to be a nice guy could wield their power to hurt a business because that business did not play ball. And I think that was sort of like the key into me sort of identifying accounts that I felt were doing things wrong. Like a big misconception in the audience is that I hate helping people. They say, "Oh, Brad doesn't like this content because he hates seeing people helped." And that's not true. I hate false narratives. I hate when you film something and cut it in a certain way where you tell the wrong story for profit. I hate when you run a camera on somebody while they're at work and they're forced to be polite to you. I hate anytime someone is put onto social media when they weren't expecting it or didn't want to be. This might shock a lot of the audience, but a lot of people don't want to be in this world. They don't want to be on YouTube videos. I mean, you and I,
Yeah.
we chose to do this. We make our accounts, we build it, we make money off it, right? If we get posted on someone's video, we have a way of voicing our concern, right? If I film you and I cut the video to make Nate look like a huge asshole, you will simply post on your account like, hey guys, this is me, Nate. You know, Brad kind of lied about this. It wasn't really true, and here's why. And like, I'm going to get flack for it. You know, we've sort of built up these platforms so that we can defend ourselves. But the poor have no ability to do that.
They don't have an audience behind them that trusts them, that knows what's really going on.
Correct.
And that's why I try to always do things myself in a way in which shows the best. Like, I like to highlight the best moments, like show the best in people. I would never want to edit something in a way in which I focus on all the bad. I know that the bad will get more attention, but I always focus more so on the good. And I mean, unfortunately, look at our media, look at the news, you know, everything on it's bad, 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 bad. And it's getting tons of attention. People are attracted to it. It's like a car wreck. You drive by it, you got to look. But if you drive by and you see somebody pushing somebody's car and they ran out of gas, you're not going to look as much as if it's on fire, right? But I would personally rather focus on the one that's helping somebody or get involved. And I know that I'm not going to get as many views doing it that way, but I feel good about what I'm doing.
Well, I do think that's something that does set your content a little bit apart. You know, for context, I talked to Nate, you know, about how he does things. And even even if you walk up to someone when they're in a compromised state with a camera running, if you haven't lied to the person about what you're doing or forced them into that position, then I don't know if the ethics are really all that bad. Like if you walked up to someone who was having a bad episode on the street and said, hey man, I'm doing this YouTube video. Could you get in this dumpster for a second so that I can start the video? Like that's what I would consider a false narrative, because it's not.
That's not authentic. I mean, you're creating something at that point. That's not real.
Correct.
You know?
And I think that it's very easy for people in the kindness content space to do that. And you know, I do believe that there are several creators who do find a person who's in a compromised state and then put them in the bad spot, put them in the dumpster, put them digging through the trash, and now they've got a hook for a video. You know, from what I've gathered from you, like you don't do that. And so again, you are filming people for your content, you are helping them, you are giving back to the community. And I think part of the reason that I wanted to come on this show was because I'm like, well, there aren't really any false narratives that I can identify going on here. You know, I looked at your content a lot and I'm like, a lot of the tells for like a staged video, maybe you're really good at it, but a lot of the tells for like a staged video didn't really show up. You know what I mean? And from what I gathered, you know, I talked to you and you're like, yeah, if somebody doesn't want to be on camera, I just shut it off because, you know, honestly, I think you're just, you're an older guy. You got more life experience. You know not to treat people like shit.
I'm in a small town as well. And I mean, even the small town thing isn't really the main point, but the main point is I want to do this for the long term. And if I go around just making people angry or doing things for the wrong reason, I mean, it's going to end pretty quick. I'd like to do this as long as I possibly can.
Sure.
Or turn it into something that is even, you know, outlast my lifetime. Who knows? But really the goal is just to help people in a good way and showcase that and maybe encourage some other people to help more people as well, but also show them a better way to do it. You know, it's not always just about handing somebody money. Take the time to talk to them and see what's going on and you know, maybe see what you can get or do for them. Maybe you can find out what, you know, a way you could steer them so that they could possibly get back on their feet, or maybe there's a couple steps that they're missing to get their life back together that you could point them toward, you know?
So let's say there was a kid out there who's like, you know what, I want to get into, let's just call it charity content, because I don't want to, every time I use the word kindness content, I always feel like there's venom in my tone because I'm always saying it sarcastically and all.
You use whatever term you want today.
But okay, so just as a fun little thought exercise, let's say a teenager, you know, knew you and is like, hey, I'm going to graduate high school soon. I'd like to get into charity content. How should I start? What would you tell them?
Well, the first thing is to be upfront about what you're doing. Let people know what's going on. If you're gonna wear a camera, explain what it's for.
Hmm.
Be open, be clear. Also, don't if people are doing things that basically, I think that the terminology, the best way to think about it is not literally, but if don't film people with their pants down, kind of thing, right? Like if they're doing something that is somewhat private, that you wouldn't want somebody, filming you doing in your own home, then maybe give them a second to get things together and then talk to them. Obviously that moment of catching them with their pants down, so to
Yeah.
speak, is going to get more attention. But that's not the right way to do it. Again, for the long term, that's not what's going to help somebody down the road or you yourself. If you want to do this long term and you really are passionate about it, take the time to find out what people truly need, talk to them, spend some time with them,
Hmm.
and get to know them, and then go from there.
I do worry that anybody who were to start this, they would strap on a camera and they would start going, to known areas of their town that have homeless people, and they would start doing videos. And my fear for that person would be that they wouldn't get a viral hit until they get someone with their pants down. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's something to the lure and the dopamine hit from that viral video that a young person may not be able to sort of get away from.
I think that's important to note is not to chase virality. So, something that I think is the way that I think about what I do is I focus on the help and the content comes second.
Hmm.
The help is number one. And sure, I'm wearing a camera, and if I get some good content while I'm doing it, awesome. If I don't, oh well, the help came first. But these other guys that are out there, I think more often than not, are focusing on the content and the virality first. And that is what I don't like. Because at the end of the day, there might be more you could do. There might be, something else that could come from it. And they're not really worried about that because they got their video. They're down the road. And I would say for anyone young and upcoming is focus on the help. The content will get better. You build a sustainable following of people that actually support what you're doing, not that want to watch the show.
The, what sucks is that we live in this sort of we live in this sort of post Mr. Beast world
Yeah.
where everyone who was raised on the Mr. Beast generation, I don't really think they want to see past that. They see the virality, they see Mr. Beast, like I reference him all the time in these sorts of discussions, but at the end of the day, what is Mr. Beast good at? Let's think about that. Mr. Beast, I mean, he's not particularly funny, he's not particularly charming. I wouldn't call him the best director in the world, but he's good at finding ways to make other people part of the content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I put this guy in a circle for 10,000 days, and if he leaves, like these ideas are G-rated saw traps. You know what I mean? Like nobody's dying.
That's a good way to put it.
But
It is true. Yeah. I mean, Squid Games, right?
Squid Games, exactly. And so he thought like, oh, well, I'll just make Squid Games in real life. And it really shows just how barbaric we are, that we want to see this and we will reward him with that. But as a result, we have this generation of kids that when they grow up, they want to be YouTubers and streamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they aren't, I hate to say it, but like they aren't good at anything. They're not good at a piano or guitar or writing a joke or even like directing a video. They don't know anything about cameras. They just want to be streamers. And so what the easiest way to do that is to find people more interesting than yourself to put on camera. And that's where the corruption, I think, comes in. They see Mr. Beast gave 10 G's to a homeless person and built a career off it. And every town has plenty of low-income people wandering the streets, and they make for the perfect subject because you can film them, you can do whatever. If you can offer them $10, and they'll probably be glad for it.
Yeah.
And then if you mistreat them, here's the rub. If you mistreat them or things go south, video doesn't go the way you want, or that person feels like you ripped them off, if that homeless person comes at you to try and say that you're a bad guy, nobody's going to believe them because they're homeless. They're an addict.
Or the flip side of that is they actually share the video where everything went south, and then it's still going to get a ton of traction because, again, it's like a car wreck,
I
right?
know.
It's like it's on fire. You got to watch. You know, it grabs a lot of attention. And I think at the end of the day, people would still defend the person trying to help more often than not. Trying to help in quotes, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think that that it's funny you referenced that about Mr. Beast and the $10,000 because that in a sense was an inspiration for me,
Mm-hmm.
but not in that way. Meaning like I saw that and it scared me because I know what a homeless person would go through if another homeless person saw them with $10,000 now. You know, they could get robbed, they could get beat, they could overdose. There's so many bad things that could happen with that.
Mm-hmm.
Why not spin that on something for them to help them? And that was kind of an inspiration for me to never give out cash.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been something I've stuck by.
That is something I noticed in your very early content.
Yeah.
I had a very early conversation about this, about different creators in that space and how some guys were giving out wads of cash. And I think you gave out tents at the time. I think I watched a video where you gave out tents. I'm like, because somebody asked me to critique this. I'm like, I was like, I didn't have anything at the time. I was like, he's giving out a tent. I don't know. He's not making the guy cry. The guy doesn't have cancer. Like there was an ongoing joke where
The
every
cancer
single Jimmy Darts person would have cancer, and I made a joke on my account about that where there was a common punchline where people would have double cancer, meaning that their situation was even worse than the MD Motivator video. And it's almost, people would always comment, they're like, oh, he found the right one, how lucky. That's not luck. When you go into low income areas and sort of stalk the Walmart for people who look like they're not doing well, like if they're in their 50s or 60s, like you're gonna stumble across somebody who can't pay their rent or who has cancer. Like the Lord didn't send you. You're just sitting in a parking lot waiting for the right sort of person to come by. Oh, that guy's got an army cap. He's probably a veteran. Let's go. You know what I
In the
mean?
beginning, you would think like, okay, maybe it is luck. Maybe he's, and I don't even want to call it luck, but you're finding the right people. You're led to the right people, people that really need the help. And one of my first videos that ever went viral happened to be a woman that had cancer. And that was like part of the intro in the very beginning because her husband walked right up to me and immediately it was like, my wife needs diapers. She has cancer, and goes on and on into what they need. And I helped them. And that video got some views, but the video that got a lot of views was when I actually helped them get into a place, helped him get a job, helped them kind of be on their own and get off the streets. That ended up being an ongoing thing for a while. He eventually ended up back out on the streets. She ended up passing away. It was kind of a tough thing. And for me, it was a lot. One thing a lot of people don't know getting into this is I've dealt with maybe 6 or 7 people that I've worked closely with that have passed away. And I build relationships with people. And the first one was really, really tough. And I don't want to say like I become numb to it, but it's something that's just part of the gig when you're really in, if you're helping people that are in tough spots, homeless people, whatever, people are going to pass away and it's going to be tough to deal with. But that's again, when I go back to the ones that just walk up, hand them some money and take off, don't ever have to deal with that. They don't know what that's like. They don't go the extra mile to see that part. And I didn't expect that. I didn't know getting into it that would even happen. But the cancer thing attracted a lot of attention. And since then, I've had a couple people here or there mention it. But at least with people on the streets, and if you talk to them a little bit more, some of them are self-diagnosed.
Got it.
So you got to be a little careful there. You got to do a little bit of homework at least to, hey, you know, what type, how long, you know, what's the diagnosis?
And so you ask those questions.
You have to. If you're going to share that they have cancer with everybody, they better actually have it. Because you wouldn't want to be at a point where you're sharing it and they told you that and it's just kind of on a whim and then...
I got to say, I don't really see a lot of that verification on a lot of viral videos.
So I wouldn't I'm not putting their paperwork up at the video, you know, but I've done my homework if I'm sharing that nowadays for sure. In the beginning, I didn't know. And, again, it's only happened to me like 4 or 5 times where I've ran into somebody who has cancer.
Well,
and not like it's every other video.
Yeah, if you believe TikTok literally every single person Jimmy Darts runs into has multiple forms of cancer at any given point in time. And I think Jimmy blocked me, which is fine.
I think that's the part with a lot of these guys' videos that's it's hard for me to believe sometimes what they run into consistently. It's like every video you see, it seems to be this perfect scenario or the perfect person to help. And
Yeah.
I put a camera on my chest and I walk up to whoever I see, and then I get what I get. I'm helping them and I get a video. Is it always going to be a viral video? No. But I'm helping them regardless.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't even want to be on camera and I help them anyways. Now, the flip side of that is if they don't want to be on camera, I can't exactly do a GoFundMe or something for them and raise a bunch of money and go to the next level. But I can provide help that day. It gets tougher to go further and get kind of the troops, to rally the troops behind them and help them raise funds, get something they really need. That's not like I mean, it's not perfect. I wish there was a way, but how do you raise money for someone no one's ever seen without it seeming like, that's not, I couldn't do that because it doesn't seem honest.
Well, I think another element of that I think is overlooked is, not to sound like a jerk or anything, but how do you know they are who they say they are in the moment?
The funny thing about that, you bring that up, and didn't Jimmy have a video with a guy he raised like hundreds of thousands of dollars for?
That's right. Jimmy Darts raised, I think, 200 G's for a kid who turned out to be not the age he said he was. And so Jimmy pulls up to this kid, he doesn't look like a traditional homeless guy, like a much younger kid. And he asks him how old he is, and the kid's, whatever age he was, he lied about it. And the GoFundMe goes nuclear. But somebody found the kid's Facebook, found like a racist meme on it, found out the kid actually had, I think, like a girlfriend or a wife, and had a job at Best Buy. So, and that caused like a lot of that caused a big stir in like the Jimmy Darts community.
Yeah.
And personally, I was on the side of the kid. Like the Jimmy Darts community was like, refund us. Like, he lied, blah, 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 blah. But I was on the side of the kid. I was like, give him his money. And here's why. Is because when I criticize these guys, I say, look, Peter Bond staged this. This is bullshit. You know what I mean? This is clearly a staged scene. And I point out, reasons why this could have never been a random encounter. And the audience says this. They say, I don't care. It made me feel good. Right? Okay, so you don't care. So you don't care that it was a lie. So the person might as well have been an actor, right? And then they get a little nervous. They're like, well, no. Right. If you think being fictional is fine, then this boy who Jimmy Darts raised 200 G's for should be fine. So what if it wasn't real? Where's your defense now? It wasn't real. The kid lied to Jimmy Darts about his age. I thought we didn't care. And so the community who supports this type of content, who they can't look any deeper than surface level, and they will always move goalposts to support the parasocial relationship they have with the influencer. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter how distorted the narrative is.
I think,
Okay.
and I see those guys that have like Jimmy on that time. I don't know, like GoFundMe is a total mess if you need to refund people. It's like not easy. I don't even know if there's a way to do it. I honestly don't. But like I see them even when it does go right, and they hand over $100,000 or whatever, and everybody that contributed, they get to see that reaction of that person receiving those funds. And that's usually the end of it. And I think that's what a lot of people wanted, was to see them happy, to see that moment, that reaction. But personally, I take a lot more time to do some homework and get to know them better before I even would start a fundraiser. And then I'm sticking through them, because I don't hand out the cash, to do all the things that they need to do and pay for all those things as time goes on, which turns into a whole nother job on its own.
It's a huge responsibility. It's a lot easier for the people to just hand out the money.
Yeah.
Do you remember the story about the woman? Some gentleman followed her, I think, like outside of a grocery store or department store, and he was like a really sort of polite homeless guy, and she raised a lot of money for him on GoFundMe, and everyone was happy, but then they found out he'd been insulting women. They found out he was a criminal. Like that's the thing with giving these psychotic amounts of money to sort of like random people because they make you feel sweet in the moment. You run a very high risk of giving it to the wrong person. Like, just because they're
Yeah.
nice to you on camera for 5 minutes doesn't mean like there's some lost, wizened soul. Like
You don't
anybody.
know what else is going on in the background there
Yeah.
at all. And that's why it's frustrating for me sometimes. I post a video and everyone falls in love with somebody. And then in the comments, I see it, GoFundMe, GoFundMe, GoFundMe. And how do I donate just for this person? And for me, it gets a little frustrating because, like, why wouldn't you? I'm helping people all the time. And this video made you like this person more than everybody else behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they all need help. Everybody I'm helping does need some help. So let's help whoever needs it, not just one person. And at the same time, we don't know this person that well. Let's take a little bit more time. Let me go, spend some time getting to know them, learn more about them, their situation. And then maybe if we have a goal that we're going to work toward, I will raise funds and we work toward that goal. And then I'm going to go spend that money on that and get the goal achieved.
Well, that's way better.
But it's a
But it's
lot of work.
A lot of work. Like,
So I don't do a lot of them because it's so much to commit to. And if I want to, I mean, right now we're not in my hometown, and I travel once a month to go see my daughter, which is like 450 miles. And if I do that and I'm still trying to manage somebody else's funds and they have needs that come up in the middle of me being out of town, it's not exactly easy to manage. And they always seem to need things when it's not convenient.
Yeah.
And that's just how things work. That's just the way it goes. So I do the best I can and try to set everybody up before I leave if I do something like that. But it's a lot of work. It can be a lot to deal with, a lot of stress. And sometimes I envy those guys and wish I would just hand out the money and walk away. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but I look at that and I just go like, man, that would be a lot easier than doing it this way.
It is a lot easier. I used to lecture at the college. I used to lecture at a college in Iowa on social media. And there was always a part of my lecture where I would talk about, if you only care about growth and money, just exploit the homeless and like underpaid workers because they're always available. There are tons of them. If one doesn't participate, you can just move on to the next one. And if you're trying to develop these sort of like comprehensive relationships with them, you're gonna fall behind in growth compared to other people who really try to hit hard with the tearjerker content and really try to grind through people as much as possible. It's tougher. And what a guy like you would probably need is like literally a company to sort of do outreach to collect a monthly stipend, from like your supporters or your Patreon. And then, you would have to do your proper research to figure out if somebody sort of is who they say they are. I think that's always my big concern with these videos because when you're dealing with the homeless population, there's no way for anybody to vet the person. You know what I mean? Just because they look good on camera for 5 seconds because Peter Bond put him in a subway. Oh, Peter, thanks for changing my life. Like, there's no way to really check on that person because they probably don't have a cell phone or an email address or an Instagram account. There was one story where a woman called out a kindness creator. This was a while back. And she said, hey, some guy in Nashville, she's like, you gave cash to this guy and you just left him alone and he got beat up for the cash. And the only reason I know about it is because he wound up in the hospital and I'm his social worker. What do you have to say about that? You shouldn't, you put Nashville homeless on the thing and somebody went and beat him up. What do you have to say? And of course I made a video about it.
Yeah.
And people in the comments still don't understand. They're like, but he was just trying to help. I'm like, no, helping people is equally about giving them respect as it is about giving them the help.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're giving somebody $1 or $10 or $1,000. If you plan on using them in a viral video for your own profit, they need to know the scope of what's happening and they need to understand it. And I think that's another part that gets lost in the narrative.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I always make a point to do is when I show somebody like their camp or where they're staying or anything like that, I try to keep it private so nobody knows exactly where their spot is. Not trying to blow their spot unless I know they've already moved and they're already gone. They already got kicked out or whatever. But that's just a matter of respect because that's their home, and they could lose that. They could get kicked out of there. Someone could attack them. Someone could know where they're at. So I respect that in that matter. But it does take a little bit of effort. You always have to take people's, privacy into what you're doing and respect their needs.
Mhm.
And I always go up to people, and in the very beginning, for the first month or so, I didn't know any better. Okay. I'll be totally honest up front. I put my GoPro on my chest. And I figured having a camera on my chest would be more than enough for everybody to know what I'm doing.
Sure.
I was naive, and I saw these other guys online doing this stuff and figured that's how they did it. But again, I wasn't spending money, and at the time, my budget was real low because I was doing Uber Eats and taking whatever I made from a day, and then going out and spending that helping people on my days off from my regular job. And for, I'd say, almost a month, I helped a handful of people, and then people in the comments started saying stuff, and I learned, and
What did they say?
just like, it's wrong to film people. It's wrong to film people that are in need or when they're at their lowest, or a number of those kind of things.
Do you still get those comments? Because I don't really
Occasionally,
see them nearly
but
that often.
only when it's somebody who hasn't been around for a while. Anybody who's been watching my content for a while kind of knows the drill, like knows that I do go the extra mile.
So you feel like you got more negative feedback in the beginning? Is that
For sure, because nobody knew what my full intentions were. And like that first month, I kind of felt bad because, again, small town, I'm in Reno. All those people were still hanging out around town. So I made a point, all but maybe two of them, I ran into again and explained, hey, this is the video I made. This is what I did. Are you guys okay with this? Because people online are kind of giving me a lot of heat. And I don't know, if you're not cool with it, I'm not cool with it. And they were like, no, it's awesome. Like, I saw it. That's cool. Like, yeah, I liked my video. Like, wow. All right. And for me, that's been kind of a common thing ever since, is as long as they're okay and they are good with what I'm doing, then I'm going to keep doing it. People on the internet, like, they support us. There's the good ones that support, that are behind everything, that make it all possible. But then there's other ones that are always going to be haters, and they're going to be there. You can't get rid of them. That's fine.
That's fair.
But as long as the people in the videos, the people that I'm actually helping, are all good with what's going on, then I'm all good with it too.
Got it. Was there a moment that you decided you'd make this your full-time career? What was the sort of most meaningful time where you changed things up?
I mean, I always kind of hoped it could turn into that. I felt like I don't mean to get like spiritual or too deep, but at some point at my old job, I was like, I'm just working this job, and it wasn't a bad job. I'm not saying it was terrible, but I just felt like I was put on this earth to do more. Like, I like helping people. I've always been good at talking to people, and I've always gone out of my way to help people one way or another, however I can, to the point where I put myself in a bind and then get home and it's like, oh, now I got to do everything I need for myself, and I need laundry, food, blah, blah, blah. So like balancing that out has always been tricky. But what if I could figure out a way to do that forever, where I could go help people and it would actually be my job, and then I can go home and still take care of myself and make a living doing it? Like, that sounds really awesome. In the beginning, I didn't really make much money. I wasn't even part of the rewards program with TikTok for like 6 months because I did something wrong when I applied the first time, something with my ID or something. I don't know. And then I got like my first paycheck for like $1,500. I was like, oh my gosh,
Pretty cool.
this is like, if this could work out, this could be more. At the time, I was only making like $2,500 to $3,000 a month at my regular job. So I was like, if I get even close to that, I'm all in. But that was just a fluke. That was 1 month. After that, it went back down to like $500 a month until I started making money from every platform, Facebook and YouTube, and Instagram doesn't really pay much at all. I think I made like $60 from them last month.
Yeah. Their bonus. But I mean, it's still $60.
It still is. But the main three were the ones that like eventually was like, okay, I'm making more than I am at my regular job. I'm going to start but I wasn't 100%. I was still kind of on the fence. Like, what if this all fails? What if I get banned? Like, whatever. So I kept my job and I worked it and slowly went back to 1 day a week. And then it was at a point where it's like, that 1 day a week was almost my day off, because I get people calling me for help all the time, people that need things, and if at the time I was working in Tahoe, and so it's about an hour away from Reno, 45 minutes. So when they would call me, it's like, I'm at work. I can't do anything today. It gave me a day to kind of break away and process things and think about stuff. And I was able to edit videos and work on my laptop on my downtime at that job. So it's really cool. My bosses were awesome. So I don't know. At some point, I knew that I could make enough money to do this full time. So I'm going to go for it. And then I finally left the job, and it was scary at first. Like, how is this going to pan out? I don't know. What if I get banned or whatever? And
Yeah.
then Facebook changes how they pay people real quick. So that money kind of goes away. I mean,
So that's why you started doing more long form YouTube.
now I'm doing a lot more long form YouTube, and it's not just because of the money aspect of things. It's because I get to show people more of what I'm doing, right? And I get to spend more time with less people. Sure, I love to go and give a bunch of people food or whatever, but I would prefer to find people that are ready to make a difference in their life and be able to help them with that and make a change. I feel like I'm making more of an impact if I can do that, even if it is with less people.
I do wonder about people sort of entering this space for the wrong reasons.
I do too.
I feel like they see an image in a certain way, and they want to sort of move as fast as they can at it. Um, a lot of the times when I'll criticize a kindness creator is people will say it's kind of the same laundry list of defenses. They'll say, I don't see you helping, which
Mm.
is very stupid because if my entire gimmick is it's improper to post false narratives of charity, I wouldn't post it. And then they always say, well, at least someone got helped, which is always a really funny way of justifying it. Because if you hurt one person or lie to one person, how many people are you supposed to help to make that one go away? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, on that same concept, it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, you're making the best out of a bad situation, right? It's like, at least they got help. Well, at least I have, I broke my leg, but at least I could still limp on one. Your situation still isn't good.
The situation, exactly. I always wonder about how people interpret that. And I don't, this isn't directed at your content. This is basically like kind of a weird this podcaster you invited me on. First off, what made you think? What made you even reach out to like? Once I saw the friend request on Nate, I think I followed you first.
You did.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I had followed Nate just because I was like, oh, he seems fine. But then Nate followed me back, and we actually got to talking. What sort of inspired you to follow me? Was that something you?
So,
Go ahead.
I mean, there was I forget what the video exactly was, but you were calling out kindness creators, and the comment section was going nuts, and people are talking about all these creators and this and that, and asking you what your thoughts are on this person and that person and that person, and then someone mentioned me and they tagged me, and I saw it and I'm like, oh, let's see where this goes. What's going to happen here, and then. I think you
I
responded.
remember this. I think I said he's gray. I think I say he's a gray area.
Yeah, I don't really know. He doesn't morally test people and this and that. And I was like, huh, okay. Yeah. And then I saw you followed me and I was like, all right, and then I started watching some of your other content and I actually, I liked a lot of it because it made sense to me. I'm not with people going and taking advantage of people and the typical hold a camera and give someone a sandwich and look what I did today and not care about this individual there or even have consent from them or anything.
You hear that, everybody at home? Yeah, I didn't even know that he would see that comment, and I answered straight up. I'm like, he's great. I got nothing to do with this. I would see Nate's content and I'm like when I make fun of people, I do put like a quite a bit of mental energy into sort of dissecting the different elements of the content. And so there are certain people I hit a lot, certain people I don't hit quite as often, but there was nothing I could really do. I was like, yeah, I mean, he's filming a guy who's definitely having a bad time, but the guy, he's not making him say he had cancer. Like, it seems like this conversation's fairly free flowing. He's not emphasizing like tears with sad music and making them talk about how they can't afford rent. Like nothing really felt scripted. And so that's why I answered that. I was like, oh yeah, Newton morally gray. And so this is more sort of proof, that to tell all his fans out there, like I never hated anybody helping people. I only hated false narratives. I hate anyone who chooses to lie to their audience or their subjects, or both. And when you sort of think about what I dislike, just look at the person's content and think, is someone being lied to here? And what's the severity? You know what I mean? Peter Bond, for instance, extraordinarily badly staged videos with homeless people. Like, if you think that Peter Bond's videos are like natural interactions, then I think you need to go back to school.
Somebody mentioned to me a while back that they were possibly staged, and he even had something like where he was looking for actors for his videos or something. And I don't know, and it surprised me. I had no idea.
Because the context of the videos, they're always they're so formulaic, and the staging where the guys are standing, like, I don't know. I mean, you interact with homeless people a lot. Just look at the nature of the dialogue. He's like, "Hey, I don't have $1. Could you give me $1 for the bus? I am homeless and I am addicted to crack, but I will give you my last $1." Well, I mean, the acting's garbage. It's absolute garbage. And so that's what I hate. Is it's like, if you want to roll up to a homeless person and give him money on camera, like, I can't really hate that. But if you are going to feed that guy lines and turn him into your personal actor for probably a negligible amount of money, then that is shitty. Chris and Jasmine, another horrible account. They're the ones who, I don't know if they invented it, but they do the Apple versus cigarettes, which I've made fun of 1,000 times. People think I'm joking. When I do my videos that are clearly satire with actors, I had a bit where I would walk up to somebody with apple or cigarettes, and the apple would have money under it, and the cigarettes would have like a nasty note or like skull and crossbones. But like, mine are jokes. Mine are scripted.
You're like purposefully bad acting.
Terrible acting.
Because you want people to know this isn't real. Like,
correct.
Yes.
And so when I dissect Chris and Jasmine's account, they walk up to homeless people with this psychotic amount of money, $30,000. And the headline, the caption is like, "Millionaire blesses homeless man." And they walk up to one homeless guy and they'll say, "Apple or cigarettes?" First homeless guy will take the cigarettes. And he's bad, boo, boo him. Then the second homeless guy also takes the cigarettes. And then the third homeless guy, "I'll take the apple." Why? "Well, I'm addicted to drugs." And then it's like a 4-minute conversation to burn through the ad time. And I guarantee you, they're not burning 30 G's of video to give to the guy. And so I even pointed this out. I actually focused in on some of the dollar bills, and I made a video. I'm like, this is a fake dollar bill. And the fans, of course, of this content, they're like, "Well, they probably go back and give him the money." I'm like, you mean to tell me every 2 days they drop $40,000 on a new homeless person when this video only got 30,000 views? I mean, we all know that's like $5. You know what I mean? They're offering the homeless guy like a pack of cigarettes and $10 to be an actor. That's why the actor's a garbage. And that's why I have a problem with it, is because you are using these individuals as actors because you don't have the talent or charm to talk your friends into it, and you don't have the ability to direct real actors. So you're like, the audience is dumb. They'll believe this. So there's deception one. Deception one is, we're going to lie to the audience and make them think this is really happening. There's no joke. There's no turn. When I do my videos, I always have what I call like the turn or like the nod, where it might seem real at first, but then something so insane happens that like you'd have to be very stupid to think that it is real.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it should be obvious to everybody who has got a brain. But in the Chris and Jasmine ones, there is no turn. And that's because they want you to believe that he's just this whimsical millionaire giving out tens of thousands to...
I'll tell you right now, dude, from my experience with homeless people, every one of them would take a cigarette.
Exactly.
The amount of people on the streets that smoke is almost every one of them. I run into that a lot, and that's something that, like, again, I do usually keep this out of my videos, but it's part of my whole thing in the beginning. It's just simply, hey, I have a YouTube channel, and, my name's Nate, and, so on. I have this stuff that I could help you out with. Do you need this, that, that? And then, is there anything I could do to make your day to day? Or something along those lines, depending on what's going on. And sometimes, occasionally, they'll be like, "Yeah, sure, I would like some cigarettes." And I'm like, "All right, well, hold on. I said anything but no drugs, alcohol, or cigarettes. Anything with that." Because those people donate so I can help other people, and I don't think they donate so I could go buy that.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
I think I think that, I mean, you actually gave me the idea for a skit
Oh
right
no.
there. Um, but yeah, your donors would probably be a little upset if they saw the people getting,
Yeah.
alcohol or cigarettes.
But I
Uh,
don't get the cigarette one is kind of common, but otherwise, like I really haven't been asked for anything else, like alcohol or drugs. Like, one guy asked me for a blunt one time. We were standing out front of a
I mean,
dispensary,
but
but
like,
so
I mean,
I mean,
I would ask you for a blunt. You know what I
well,
mean?
and I have a background in that industry, so for me, it was like in a past lifetime, I would have totally hooked you up, man. But
Mhm.
now, no, that's not where I'm at, and I'm here to help you with something that's going to help you get through the night, that's going to help you stay warm, something you really need,
Mhm.
or maybe find out how we could get you back inside, like something a lot more than just a quick fix.
I feel like the alcohol and cigarettes question brings up sort of an interesting subject that maybe you can talk on. A very popular motif in, deceptive kindness content is that homeless people are where they are because of their own decisions. That's what the Apple versus cigarette thing is
Mm.
subtly saying, is like, if you chose a cigarette, well, you're dumb and you deserve to be homeless. But if you choose the food, well, clearly you're awesome and deserve $10,000. In your experience, how accurate would you say it is that the homeless people you've interacted with are truly victims of circumstance or victims of their own choosing?
Well, that's the thing is it can be a little bit of both, and sometimes one comes after another, right? Sometimes it can be circumstance, but then there's a coping mechanism when you're in, you're dealing with that, and you're living on the streets all of a sudden. All this is new to you, and you don't know no matter which way you go, you keep hitting a wall and you can't get ahead. And this guy next to you has this thing that he's like, hey, man, this will make you forget about everything for a while. And eventually it gets to you and you say, screw it, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Then there's other people where they've been doing those things inside and get kicked out or lose whatever else they had, their job or their home or whatever, because of their addiction. So it's
Is
not
addiction
always.
really? Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's not always addiction, but addiction can definitely come after the fact. It's not the majority, but there are a group of people out there that are kind of new to the streets. This current economy and climate and everything we have going on with just the cost of living is insane. And a lot of people are losing it. And they're new to the streets and they're out there trying to deal with the hand they've been dealt. And was it poor decisions? Was it bad money management? I mean, everybody's gotten close. I've gotten close. Everybody's had it where they don't have a savings and the paycheck to paycheck, even if it's just for a short amount of time, then you build that back up. You have savings or whatever it is, but not everybody can manage that depending on their family, their situation, or what comes up. Um, and then they end up in a real tough spot.
Are there any through lines you've seen over there? Like if you could just sort of ballpark it, like 30% are on the streets because because of addiction, or 30% because of a layoff that they couldn't recover from, or medical disability, or maybe there is no answer because
No, it's everybody has their own kind of unique set of circumstances. There's no I mean, you say through line, and there's not really a constant one. The constant ones come after the fact, where there's constant ones that keep them there.
Mhm.
And like I would say, cost of living, jobs, lack of the way the ID thing is a terrible mess.
What's that?
So the simple way to put it is you can't get an ID without an address, but you can't get an address without an ID.
Got it.
So how do you move forward? Because to do anything, to get a job anywhere, you need two forms of ID.
Mhm.
But you can't order your Social Security or a birth certificate without a copy of your ID.
Got it.
But you can't get your ID because you don't have an address. So unless you go through some agency somewhere or someone kind helps you and lets you use their address, you can't go get one.
Got
And
it.
you end up stuck in the spot because everything gets stolen when you're outside. When you don't own the property you're sleeping on, everything's going to disappear the moment you walk away.
Mhm.
Unless you're lucky, you might get by for a while, but eventually it's going to happen. And that's when you're left with nothing. And it happens to almost everybody out there. I run into a lot of people, and the first thing they ask for when I offer to get them anything is a room. I want a hotel room. And I go, well, do you have ID? Because I'm actually banned at a couple hotels in my town because I've gotten rooms for people without ID on mine. And then they come to find out that, hey, you're not in this room. They're not you. You're out of here and you can't come back.
Got it. Now, let me just ask you a real sort of simple question. Is that, did they alert staff, or did something happen? Because it's, I've purchased rooms for other people myself before, and it's happened multiple times. I've
It
never
just
been kicked
depends
out of a
where you
hotel.
get them a motel, right? If it's something that's like the cheaper motels, they got eyes on everything. They got
Got it.
cameras everywhere. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of activity of sorts. So as soon as they see somebody come out of the room that isn't who they're supposed to be and going back and forth and me never showing up,
Got it.
it throws a red flag, especially if they do anything where they actually have to go talk to them. Hey, you guys are being loud, whatever. And then I'm not in the room.
Has that happened where they cause a disturbance and that's
There was one guy I got a room for who they had to like actually get him out of the room.
Got
He was he was having fun with his girlfriend when they came to get him out. Like it's like this is checkout time and he's in there. He's got his shopping carts. He's got a whole bunch of stuff, and they're having some fun. That
Sure,
in
sure.
the
You don't have
private space.
You don't have to get graphic.
Yeah, but at the same time, the next time I went to get them a room, they're like, "Oh no, not them. I tried to get somebody else a room at that same hotel. They're like, you no." Out of here. You can't get nobody a room here anymore. You didn't see we didn't give you back your deposit. And I was like, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you talk to me? Like if that happens, totally take the deposit, but maybe we can work something out. So like just they can't come back and I can still help other people. So anyway, it's gotten to the point where I don't get anybody a room unless they have their own ID and I can put it in their name.
Got it.
But the ID thing is tough. Most people don't have it, so I can't even get them a room.
So if they don't have an ID, they can't use like a local shelter. Is that
No, you can go to like in Reno, you can still go to the shelter and then they have something called a clarity card they get you set up with. It isn't exactly ID, but it does work in a sense. But the cool thing is the shelter up there, they'll get you set up with a caseworker and they will order you your ID. They'll order your social security, your birth certificate. And once you have that, you can go down to the DMV and get your ID. And they have, Karma Box goes there every Tuesday and Thursday. So they're always getting in and the appointments in Nevada are sometimes like a month to 2 months out, but they'll get you right in Tuesday or Thursday. If you're from out of state, that's a whole nother mess on this thing. Like picture yourself moving to another state for a job, whatever. You don't know anybody. You lose the job, you break your phone, and then someone steals your wallet. You're left in this car. You don't know where to go, what to do. Like in that moment, all of a sudden you're homeless and all it takes is for you to get pulled over once and you could lose that car, get it impounded, and you literally have nothing. And then you have no choice but to go through a service somewhere to get what you need to get back on your feet. But if you're stubborn and you don't know anything about those services, I should say, you really it's going to take time to figure that out. Some people don't know what's available to them as far as the services in that town, especially if you're new there. You don't know where the shelter is or where these agencies are. So you might just be out there on the corner holding a sign, trying to get enough to eat that day. And then slowly you make some friends that, might be into
crime,
into bad things.
Got it.
And then you might get associated with that. You might end up start doing it to survive, whatever it may be. But all of a sudden you turn into a different person. And before you know it, it's been years. Time is a concept on the streets that is kind of lost. I mean, all you're worried about every day is survival. So you lose track of it. Before you know it, days turn into years.
I think a lot of people from the comfort of their homes sort of forget that when you're living on the streets, like day-to-day survival, often allows people to get put into compromised positions. I think that obviously is terrible.
Especially for women.
Yeah, women. Yeah. You don't see as many homeless women because I assume they're more like social resources to get women off the streets because they will be the victims of violence.
That's a good assumption.
Oh, that's wrong.
Hopefully, but some of them end up just, staying with somebody, another guy or whoever, because it's a place to stay. They get in a relationship they're not really, they don't really want to be in because it's safe. Yeah. To them, it's safer than it was. My friend Grant, he said they call it like rabid dog syndrome. Like, I will stick with this person here. This is the evil I know, and this guy is just this one guy. He might beat me. He might do whatever, but I know how he does it, and I know when it's going to happen.
And I can
manage this compared to these 10 over here that have no idea what's going to happen, and that's really common out there. You see a lot of relationships that. Like for me, I've tried to help people that are in a street relationship get back inside. And the moment they're inside and they're actually starting, one will always hold the other one back because they have different goals. One actually does want to get off the streets or do something different. One wants to go back to where they were and kind of party or do whatever. They're always, it's not really a relationship that started before they got in a bad spot. And so there's these like street relationships, street families, and in a way, unless somebody's willing to break away from all of that and change who they're around, the situation's not going to change.
Yeah, do you ever feel like the work you're doing, like when you see somebody back on the streets who you've helped, like sort of it feels depressing?
It can, and I have to remind myself that like I didn't fail, right? Like it might not have stuck this time, but it will stick eventually. Like hopefully, and maybe even if I get somebody for a while there, like I would offer people to get them a room or whatever and a couple days would be $200-300, but then I can get them a week for 400. Just get them the week. That's a whole week that maybe they could actually go apply for a job or get something that they need or just stay out of the cold and relax compared to a couple days. And then, that maybe that week's going to remind them what it's like to be back inside. And hey, I like having a shower. I like having a bed. I'm going to do whatever it takes so I can keep this or get another one. And then I started offering people that offer of, hey, if you get a job, I'll help you get into a place. And it would just be, we have a lot of weekly and monthly hotels up in Reno. So does Vegas, but they don't really have that in California. Not very much.
Not that I know of. Yeah.
No. So that's an offer I can give to people. And if they will, keep working and keep trying, then I will cover them till they get paid. And then hopefully that they can be on their own. It's a tough route like that.
And so the money comes from your donors mostly?
Yeah.
Or view bonuses?
Wherever it needs to.
Got it.
Most of the time it's donors. And most of the time if I have a story around this person and we do need to raise funds because something happened or they're doing great but they're a little short, everybody's always going to help out. I have a pretty strong community behind me, so I don't have to. I sometimes go into things without enough money, knowing that it's still going to work, and it always has. I know it's risky, but it always has.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of risky, but it seems like you've put together a business model that's working so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I don't have the following a lot of these other guys have, right? I don't get the views that these other guys get.
Yeah, you don't.
That's okay, though, because I think the community that I built really is supportive and behind what I do. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't think they're here to watch the show. I think they're here to see the outcome.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you did take that route and you started going for like the high viral hits, I mean, the worst thing that could happen is some guy named Brad would start making fun of you and then roast the shit out of you.
Might even get more attention.
I know, it might even get more attention. And that is also like an interesting subject is that criticizing some of the true evil that I think goes on, it is possible that it sends more attention their way,
Yeah.
The short form content is, it's got its advantages in society and it's got its disadvantages. But I think one of the disadvantages is that it does allow more monstrous people to sort of succeed based on an attention economy. I mean, when I make rage bait posts, like posts that are just meant to piss people off,
Yeah.
those objectively perform a lot better than my normal stuff.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of finding, how should I put this? In terms of like growth, it is always beneficial to be controversial. But like I said, when you are a controversial character, you probably have to deal with a lot of stress. Like that hate. I do see comment sections sometimes of some of these guys after I've hit them, and I'm like, it's got to be stressful for you. That's got to be, like, unless you're a stone cold sociopath, you should probably change what you're doing because I'm not the only one who thinks this way. Like, yeah. I think maybe like as long as your comments are like under 9% hater, you're probably doing okay. Maybe I'm being generous there. Maybe 5%. But once like a lot of people turn on you, it's just like, can you really think you're a good person? And at the end of the day, rage sort of sells. I feel like a lot of the time when people are going about trying to find help, obviously not you, but let's clear the slate. It all started with bum fights. It all started with bum fights. Bum fights was the seminal profit off of the poor. all the arguments around kindness content today that can be used now can technically also be applied to bum fights.
Yeah.
Oh, well, at least they're giving them whiskey. I don't see you helping. You know what I mean? Like, and we all know bum fights is bad, right? Like,
Yes.
culturally,
Yes.
we've all moved on from bum fights. But in the wake of bum fights, in the wake of, you combine bum fights with the Mr. Beast generation, and you get
Yeah, you're right. I think that kind of showed people that, like, well, homeless people do attract people's attention. And then at the same time, you know, this challenge concept of, well, what if I can test people that are facing tough times, test them and see if they're willing to do this or that.
The tests drive me crazy.
Yeah.
They drive me crazy. Like, could you help me buy these Pringles? Oh, wow, since you were so nice, you deserve $10,000. Like, these crazy sort of like moral challenges make me insane, because there's lots of reasons for somebody not to want to help you. Like, let's look at the context. A well-dressed dude with a camera strapped to his head approaches a poor person and is like, "I'm poor." Camera, the lights blinking on the GoPro. "I don't have any money." You clearly have like a GoPro 9 on your chest.
Yeah.
Your shoes look very clean. You clearly have money. This is awkward, but I'm going to try to help you. Like, there's so much sort of background context there that sort of like stems. But obviously, people who want to exploit the homeless can't do bum fights anymore. But they need to find, like, it's always shocks me. Actually, it shouldn't shock me anymore, but it always interests me to see how that idea has sort of splintered out into society. That it's not only the homeless who have to deal with it, it's also like low-wage workers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a talentless sociopath and you need content, well, you're talentless, so you can't use yourself. And you're talentless and you can't really direct other people. So you need to you need to use the world around you. You need to use the local homeless are great because they're always around. You can offer them a sandwich and everyone's going to think you're the nicest guy. Low-income workers, fast food workers, people at Target. Did you know Walmart has a new rule where employees are not supposed to engage with influencers?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because of how often influencers screw around in Walmart and how often the Walmart employees become the butt of a joke. They're like, "Look, company-wide memo, you see them, just ignore it unless they're intentionally bothering another customer," because it became so problematic. You know what I mean? And the big issue is that, remember, these guys have no talent, so they need other people to focus on. So they look for one guy that really bothers me. Here's a good example. It's not really exploiting the homeless, but it manifests as kindness content. A guy named Logan who will ring his items up behind someone at Walmart. Now remember, Walmart employees by process aren't going to bother him.
Mm-hmm.
So he walks up, he rings up something, and he asks them to pay for it. Now, no matter how this interaction goes, he's going to get a winner because he's picking people smaller than him, minorities, older ladies, people who like when a white guy sort of intrudes upon your space in a Walmart, honestly, it's a little weird, a little scary. His cameraman's right there. You're either, whether you comply or not, the guy has the potential to get a viral video for the cost of those groceries. If you buy his soda, "Oh my God, well, thank you so much. I'm going to pay for all your groceries." And he probably looked, he's like, "That lady's got like $20 worth of groceries. I'll make more money." And I even made fun of that on a skit. So in my skit, the person's like, "Why'd you pay for my groceries?" And I'm like, "You only had like one thing in here." So, but it's another example of how they stalk Walmart, a generally low-income sort of place people shop, to try and use strangers as actors. This gentleman got banned from Target, and when he made his response video, he
I
said,
feel like anytime you get banned from anywhere, there's a problem.
"Well, yeah, because you're not supposed to be recording people on private property. If someone rolled into my office and was like filming my patients, I don't care if they're going to buy their groceries, get out. Get out. But I'm trying to help people. I don't care. Get out." So when this gentleman's getting kicked out, he finally got banned from Target, which is why he's in Walmart. And he's like, "I was just trying to help people." And the comments are eating it up. "Oh, you're just trying to help. You're just trying to help." And I just want to take every single one of those people in the comments, and I just want to shake them. I want to shake them and ask where their parents are, because he's not trying to help. It is a hire. He is trying to pay for their groceries so that the audience is on his side, but he wants cheap, easy, recyclable, endless content. Because every new old lady who goes in is another video for the price of a couple of Twix bars and the milk that they bought. You now have a fully fledged actor in a short. And that's what a lot of the audience is too stupid to understand.
Well, shorts content too. It's just a different attention span, and like that's actually why I've kind of lost interest as much in making short content.
I get that.
Because I like to do more, and I feel like when I make a short, I have to cut out so much of what actually happened because there's no room for it. I just don't have it. You can't make a 10-minute short.
No,
you know?
well, you can, but it won't do well.
It won't do well. And the music thing's a whole nother mess when it comes to TikTok and choosing the right, whatever. I hate that stuff. I like it where on YouTube I can show more of everything that happened, and I can do what I want with the sounds or wherever to kind of emphasize this moment or what's going on here. I never wanted to be on camera at first just because I didn't want it to be about me. But then I saw scammers all over the place stealing my content.
Yeah, I actually saw a couple of fake you accounts.
There's a lot of them, dude. There's a lot of them.
Because it's easy because your face isn't on it.
Yeah, and then I was like, all right, well, I'll put my face in my content. They can't steal that.
Well, they
totally did. It didn't stop anybody. They just kept going with it. And
I mean, you can file copyright claim forms on Facebook and Instagram, and they do work. They do work. I filed a couple of those. When somebody reposts my video and puts their watermark on it on Facebook or Instagram, I hit them. And that can demonetize their account immediately. And I've had several people roll into my email being like, please, I'm so sorry. And I delete, send to spam.
See, for me, I think a lot of them are actually, I don't even think they care about being monetized. I think they're just trying to gain donations or something, which scares me even more, makes me super angry. Are you trying to scam people?
Yes,
what are you doing? And that's again why I'm trying to get to a point where I don't even have donations at all. Like, you either are subscribed to the Patreon, you're buying merch. I have an option for my merch, which is give both. So like you could essentially just buy some socks and you give both pairs instead of buy one, give one. I think
that's a great business model. I think the consistent donation Patreon bit that you're running is a great business model. I think it sort of avoids the problem with questionable GoFundMes.
Yeah.
And if you really are taking the time to sort of vet these folks,
I do, but I'm not perfect. Like, there could be things that come up out of nowhere that I don't know about. And even then, it's like, that's why now if I do a GoFundMe, I try to put some clause or something in there. Like, in the case of unforeseen events, this money would be used to help other people. So if something comes up in the middle of it, and I mean, they could pass away in the middle. Who knows? It could happen. That money's going to get used to just help other people and maybe find the next person that's ready for something like that.
And this is just sort of like you don't have to answer this, but you receive a certain amount of money. How much of that would you say percentage goes right back into the business?
I mean, most of it, honestly, almost everything. I don't pay myself out of donations. That goes into helping people. And then the ad revenue and maybe some of the Patreon that can cover some overhead or expenses or go back to helping people wherever it needs to come from, because every month is very different. In the past, when it was just shorts, if I have really viral videos, everything's great. Everything's awesome. Now that I'm doing more long form, the donations are a lot less. So I'm running a lot more off of ad revenue, Patreon stuff.
I mean, but you make a little bit more money off the YouTube long form.
It's building up. I'm getting there. Yeah. But it's still not a ton. And I think if I keep going the route I'm going, by the end of the year, like I said, we'll be self-sustainable. I'll be able to do more and build more of a team as well. Like right now, my cousin works for me full time. My fiance and I do this stuff. Like, she helps me all the time as well. So we have a small little team right now, but it's going to grow. We're going to get more. I want to be able to employ people and help them out. Whatever they can bring to the table when it comes to the merch side of things. I think there's jobs that are pretty simple that anybody could do. And I think that's something that maybe somebody wanting to get back on their feet could do. I don't know. It's going to take a while to build it into something large enough to where I need a lot of employees. That's a lot of overhead. But that's the goal. I want to get there for sure.
Cool.
So what are some kindness creators, so to speak, that you actually enjoy or like or are gray on?
So I think that any kindness creator who doesn't seem to lie to the audience, I'm fine with. Like, you're not the only one that people tried to put me onto. They're like,
Hmm.
make fun of this guy. Or like, what do you think of this content? And in general, if I haven't hit you already, like I'm probably not going to. For instance, like people were getting on me to make fun of Surthy Cooks, for instance. Like
Mm.
Surthy Cooks, she makes these very aesthetic meals and then she shares them with like ostensibly poor people in the community. And I responded, I was like, I don't really have anything on this. Like, she's the star. She's clearly making a whole ton of food. Like she usually frames it like this. She'll show an influencer wasting food, and then she'll sort of play sad music like, no, I don't like that. And then she'll cook something and then give it to the poor. And in my opinion, there's no false narrative here.
Hmm.
So I think Surthy Cooks is an example of someone who's fine because there's nothing wrong with aesthetically making a whole ton of food at your own expense and giving it out to people where they're not really the focus. You know what I mean? She has camera people, like she's got a whole production crew. I guarantee those cameras are right up there, and she clearly organizes it with like local shelters and schools and stuff. Like you see the videos, you see kids come out of buildings and they run out and they eat her food and she's in the middle of it. I don't see that as a problem. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? And why? It's because there's no false narrative. She's not asking the kids like, do you want a cigarette or an apple? You see
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like if you're going to help someone, you should help regardless. Like you should sort of sweep the map. Like everyone here is getting sandwiches. I don't care if you would have chosen the cigarette or the apple because we're not here to determine your moral, sort of standing. We're here to help the community. So, I mean, again, I know some people have issues with her content because they think it's exploitative, but my question to them is who's the one being lied to, right? This sort of harkens back to our earlier parts of the conversation. Who's being deceived? Well, not the audience, because they clearly are just watching her dislike food being wasted, and then she cooks. Clearly not the subjects, because she clearly has a gigantic production crew, and she's a member of this community, and she's there serving the food. There's no dialogue from the people receiving it, so it's not like they're being forced to say anything on camera. So who's being deceived? The answer is nobody. So I think Surthy Cooks is fine. I think Beauty to the Streets is fine, sort of like for
Yeah.
similar reasons. She doesn't sugarcoat her stuff with like excessive sad music. A lot of her videos are like they're just like showing the normal process, you know? She
Yeah.
doesn't not everybody's got cancer. I do remember a post of hers a while back where she talked about how she needed security to go into certain areas to give out stuff because that's like the real deal. She's not stalking Walmart for cancer patients. She's just sort of get anybody who walks up gets a food and a drink. Everybody who walks up, we're not discriminating. And if you don't walk up, that's fine. And if you do walk up, like her camera's rolling. But again, I don't necessarily have a problem with cameras rolling. Again, I have a problem with false narratives. Shirley never lies to her audience. She's never, or at least she doesn't seem to be feeding people lines. So there's no way I could be mad at it. Just Nate is fine. His stuff seems very, very honest. Like he walks up to people, can I help you? And he doesn't seem to like force them to, speak any specific line or like talk about how tragic their life is. But as a result, Surthy gets a lot of views. But as a result, like Beauty to the Streets doesn't go nearly as often, doesn't go viral nearly as often because there is much less of a clickbaity hook. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, as far as people I like goes, like those are the first two that come to mind that aren't you, that are, they don't really fall under my attack radar. You know
There's
what I
two
mean?
guys that I know pretty well. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on them.
Hit me.
Travis Doodles.
Travis Doodles, you know what? I'm fine with him. I started watching, I actually analyzed Travis, and he seems to develop a longer relationship with some of these folks.
Yeah.
Now, he does use some clickbaity tricks, but they don't strike me as disingenuous.
No, at some point, like, that's the balance. Like, even with me, like, people are like, oh, well, and I've mentioned it too, is like, you do it just for views. And it's like, well, I gotta get views to be able to do it, but I don't do it just for views, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
You know?
The thing is, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to somebody who's in the content creator space, who's filmed in public and who's dealt with like a variety of people. Someone who's never entered the space, I think they have a lot of trouble differentiating what you might do versus what like Josh Lil J might do. Whereas somebody like me who's very like, who's in the space, who's hypercritical of it, I can identify that. I once did an experiment where I strapped a camera to myself and I walked around and I actually tried to do the content that I criticize. And I learned that people hate it. You know what I mean? Like I went to a donut shop and I did the whole, I don't have $1. Could you give me a donut? And the woman who sees the camera, she's like, don't film me. And I'm like, no, check it out. I'm going to do a YouTube thing. I'll give you $500. I took out the $500 with the intention of posting the whole interaction, right? And she's like, no, don't post me. You can keep the money. And I'm like, wow.
Where was that?
This was in Iowa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was in Iowa. And this was, and I did it a couple times. And I even, I posted one of them and I blurred the face. I posted like a part of it, but it was like a Chick-fil-A employee. And I'm like, oh, but I don't have $1. She's like, I can't help you. And I'm like, but it can't do anything for me. She's like, no, do you want like sauce or something? And I'm like, guys, and it felt awkward. You know what I mean? You have to be a little bit nuts to film someone at their place of business without asking their permission, because every single fast food restaurant will say you can't be making TikToks at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm so sorry. I got off
No,
the
it's
tangent.
cool,
Travis Doodles have analyzed his content and like, he doesn't really fall under my attack range. Like he seems to develop really long-standing relationships with some of these folks. And does he do GoFundMes?
Not really, because he has his own nonprofit. And so he just raises funds through his 5083C.
Yeah.
And he does it. He helps a lot of people actually go through the process. I think, in the beginning, like all of us, when we first started, you didn't have a big budget. You're doing short things that are really good for short form video.
Yeah.
Little things. When it becomes a big thing, when you're really working with somebody long term, short form video around that is really, really tough. And I think that's where he's at right now, where he's doing a lot more for people, but it's getting harder to make more viral videos out of it.
Well, I mean, he's also in competition. I think there is there's also like a thing I call follower inflation, where as time goes on and these short form content, platforms take over more of our brains, 1 million followers is not worth what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
10 million isn't even worth what it was 5 years ago. And so now he's got to compete with new kindness creators who are entering the space, who are more willing to push the boundaries, who are more willing to lie, who are more willing to do those clickbaity like morality tests.
Yeah.
And
no, I got to deal with that too.
Yeah. And so you said you had 2 that you wanted to ask me about?
Oh yeah. The Good Boss.
I don't know who the Good Boss is.
You don't know? Oh, the Good Boss is awesome, man. No, that's cool though. Victor the Good Boss.
Hate to
Maybe I shouldn't have brought him up. No.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out.
Vic does cool stuff where he goes around and he offers people jobs. And then now he started a nonprofit called The Good Project, where he actually takes people through treatment. Like it gets them in treatment, then offers them work right when they get out. He's had like a lot of great successes. He's done a lot of really good stuff with people. His content is like, so a lot of it's just him approaching homeless people and asking them if they want a job, and then him giving them his card and hoping that they call. And it's like he's shooting a shot, getting it out there, hoping that somebody does reach out, and eventually some of them do, and that's where it gets really, really cool.
I think I've seen it. I'm not sure if like I said, if I haven't made fun of it, it probably didn't trigger me enough to like go out of my way to hit it. But I think I do know, like I think I know who you're talking about now.
And he has his own landscape company, and that's where the Good Boss came from. Originally, his videos were just him taking care of his guys. But he's been in recovery for a while now, and he's passionate about helping people and offering homeless people jobs.
Knowing sort of where I'm at now, I don't think I have a problem with it. I have seen it. I wonder, like I used to be a lot feistier about this. Bear in mind, like the last year, I've gotten a lot calmer. I still have a like obviously I make fun of a lot of different creators, but I have my stance on this has softened a lot because I've come to understanding that not everybody who runs a camera on a stranger is as evil as I think, right? So my stance on like Victor the Good Boss. If I didn't like him a year ago, I'm probably fine with it now because I do recall him sort of offering a guy a job and then like following up on it. And it doesn't meet any of my criteria of deceit. Like, where's the
Yeah.
false narrative? Did he make this guy say lines? He's not really forcing the guy to do anything. So, as of right now, I'm probably going to say Victor the Good Boss doesn't hit my radar. But again, things are constantly changing. New people are always entering the space, and that's sort of what's making me a little like
Concerned.
I need to calm down because I can't live my life just hating every single thing.
That's not healthy, dude.
I need to
Yeah.
pick my battles because I only have a certain amount of hate in me, right?
Yeah.
And I want to reserve this hate for the people I want to reserve this hate for the people who truly deserve it. And
Okay.
I'm only one man.
Yeah.
I've only got so much hate in my heart. You know what I mean? And so I realized like I can't really dislike everybody, but I focus on certain very key points. False narratives, deception of the audience, deception of the subject. I think those are sort of like my main three criteria. And like I said, it's so impossible for the audience to understand if they've never done it.
Yeah. I mean, you've taken this upon yourself to really go after this, and at some point something kind of triggered you, and you went for it, and you've become like the guy that is on the other side, that is, I don't know how you say it, but not necessarily the expert for who's good or bad, but somewhat of a moral high ground, and people look at what you're saying. But what makes you feel you have a leg to stand on?
Well, I'll tell you the reason why I think that I have the ability to criticize these guys is because I'm older. I've got a training. I did my thesis in ethics. So I've read a lot of books about this, and because I've experienced it myself in ways that a lot of the audience doesn't understand. Like I said, one of my first stories was I did a kindness content joke, and remember that homeless guy hated it.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So that experience is gonna lodge in my head as something very important. And remember, I've also strapped a camera to myself and I've done the kindness content myself because this was way before I was like really heavy into making fun of these guys. It's because I did it myself and I saw negative reactions. And I'm thinking, you know what? These other guys must get negative reactions all the time that they're not posting. You know what I mean? So I have a deep-seated understanding of the creator space. And a lot of bigger creators are afraid to talk about this because they're going to lose sponsors. This position that I am trying to peel back the curtain on kindness creators, it's not a profitable one.
No.
To be honest with you, I have like a very good normal career. So what makes me good is I don't like, yeah, I like the money I get from this stuff, but if it all goes away, like I'm probably going to be fine. And a lot of creators can't say that. So when creators hang out and we talk about like bad people and people we'd never want to work with, these guys are afraid to make fun of the same people I do. Some of them because they're very brand safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're a very high and mighty target, right? And, again, I don't even claim to be a moral guy. Another part of it is it's like people say you're taking the high ground. I'm just pointing out evil. You know what I mean? A thief can call a murderer, and the thief's still a fucking thief.
Yeah.
You know, right? It's one thing if my...
Because I wouldn't call a lot of your content like wholesome.
No, I'm not. I never take the high ground. People are like, what makes you so high and mighty? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just pointing out that this guy's lying to you.
Yeah.
You don't need to be high and mighty to know that somebody's a liar.
Of course not. Like that. I mean, even with me, the whole concept with being just Nate is I'm just me. I'm just a regular dude. I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, but I can still go out there and try to be better all the time. And at the same time, like, I'm just a regular dude. Don't put me on a pedestal. I'm just like anybody else. And you don't need to be anything other than yourself to go help people or, be who you want to be.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most likely. Most of us, if they haven't dug deep enough to find it, it's there. But you got to do something to pull it out or get comfortable or push yourself to go over that hurdle that you're staring at, you know, whether it's just you're scared of a camera, or you're afraid to talk to people, or whatever it is. A lot of us have something deep down, and even if it's not that, you know, my fiance is really shy. She doesn't like to talk to people, but she's really good at helping in the background with everything else I do, and she's passionate about what I'm doing, but she's scared to go and hand someone a backpack.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's wrong or anything. It just, you know, she has her place and I have mine, and we're a team and we make it happen. So everybody can find their spot in life, you know, and you don't need to be more than yourself. That's my point.
It's good advice. The internet's just a weird place.
That's the problem, I think, though, too, is everybody thinks they need to be this thing that they're not, and you don't have to.
I think that the idea of a lot of gurus online will say, you know, just be authentic.
Yeah.
And I guess a problem with that is that being authentic is a long and lonely road. You know what I mean? It's much faster to be inauthentic and deceptive. Even my own account, you know, shows signs of this, with my most popular reel ever being people throwing coffee at a car.
Oh, you do a lot of those now.
I do a lot of those because they're just so easy. They're just so easy.
Yeah.
And I get to rest on my laurels a bit and be like, no, man, it's ironic. But at the end of the day, I'm still contributing to the brain rot because it's just so easy.
Well, and then you're not even the one that's in most of those videos.
No, that's true, because I need to direct it, and I find that I'm faster executing videos behind the camera than I am. Like if I'm in the video, that's just sort of like extra steps, and if I'm yelling and like making this happen, then I can make a lot more videos a lot faster. But like those videos are another example of like how I hated false narratives. The coffee toss is like a real thing. Like models. There was a certain time, maybe like 6 or 7 months ago, where models would like pose with a cup of coffee. They'd be walking, and they wouldn't be posing, but they'd be walking across the street. A car would stop and they'd throw the coffee. And it's sort of meant to give the audience the perception that like this woman is so cool and unbothered and just throws her $8 latte on a car because she's so cool.
Man.
But it's a pants ad. It's a pants ad, or an ad for the influencer to like show how cool she is. And like the first one I saw, I think got like 1.6 million likes, and it was literally just that. In fact, the audio I use in my coffee tosses is that audio. So I was like, well, how far can I take this? And obviously my videos are very clearly staged, because what are the odds that 9 people have
no, it's just ongoing.
But it's sort of, you know, when I talk to people about this, if I'm going to be sort of educated and well-rounded, I need to have experience with both sides. I can't just say, brain rot's easy, and then never do it. Now I could say brain rot's easy, 110 million views, half-hour work. What do you think? You know, in order for me to like maintain this position of sort of like the weird Diogenes scholar type of person that I'm trying to be, like I need to actually try this stuff. I need to, you know, again, you asked like where do I get the moral high ground? I've just experienced it. I do a lot of shooting in public, as do you. And you know that some people don't want the camera on them.
Yes. And on that note, man, like that's the funny thing for me that I've experienced is like when it comes to restaurants or people in stores or whatever, most of the time, like they'll ask me, or I usually I'll frame it in a way which their faces aren't in the shot. In the beginning, I didn't know any better, and I just did that, and then I'd go back to the same store and be like, "Hey, my kids saw that video, and now I'm in a viral TikTok. What the heck, man? You didn't tell me what you're doing." And I'm like,
negative feedback.
That happened once, and the guy at the time, it wasn't like he was really angry, but he was like, "Next time, could you not?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even see that as sorry. I didn't realize that was going to be an issue." Again, this is back to like when it was month 1 or 2, in the very, very beginning. And even everybody else in the store was like, "Really? He didn't like that? Dude, he looked awesome." But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what so from there on out, like I started I started analyzing it when I'm out there and whenever I see people, and I try to tell them what I'm doing. And even if they're in a store or wherever, like, "Hey, I'm making a video. You cool being in it?" And a lot of times I'll get no's. The homeless person doesn't care, but the person in the store does. And I always kind of find that odd because I see other videos on the internet where it looks complete opposite of that.
Well, I mean, a lot of the times they're staged. You know what I mean? So, but if they're not staged, like a sociopath influencer will still run it because the audience will back them. The audience, the influencer is able to craft the story to whatever their goal is, and the audience will side with them. And if they're giving out $100 or a mystery box or whatever, then the audience thinks they're there to help. And if I could sort of if my account is worth anything, I would like it to just disperse the idea that giving someone a gift on camera does not mean the influencer is good. It's such a simple idea, but it's there. Like, because even if I've seen it happen a couple times where somebody was like, "That's me in the video," and yeah, I didn't really like that, and the audience hates them for it. They're like, "F you, he's just trying to be nice. I would love if someone gave me $20." Like, it's crazy. It's totally crazy. There was a guy. Have you heard of the RizCam guys?
No.
It's tangentially related. So remember, the seed was bum fights. The bum fights was use poor people in violent acts and give them whiskey and booze. At least they're being helped, right? So now the splinters, like that sort of philosophy is splintered off. It's been diluted to just like use people for whatever they have and try to give them as little money or recognition as possible. So the RizCam guys will go to a mall and they'll pick up a girl wearing Meta glasses that are recording, and they'll just record the girl and they'll be like, "Hey, what's your number?" And sometimes it goes well for the guy and sometimes it doesn't. But whatever it is, they're going to post it, right? That is intrusive. It doesn't matter whether it's legal or not. A lot of their fans will come at me. It's not illegal to record in public. I'm like, I never said it was illegal. I said you're a creepy weirdo.
Yeah.
Right? But what they're trying to do is they're trying to use the environment around them. They're trying to exploit a woman for her looks so that they can gain profit. And that's as simple as it is. And the only time their fans ever relented is when one of these guys used a woman in an advertisement. He used her in an ad, like a 4-paid ad. And the woman rolled into his comments and yelled at him like, "You son of a bitch, I didn't know I was being recorded."
Yeah, because at that point it becomes like illegal, I think,
well,
right?
the thing is, it's not really. If you're in a public place and you're recording someone,
but for an advertisement,
that it is illegal. Yeah, you see, but that's the only time like that that community sort of like was like, yeah, I guess that's bad, but the audience still doesn't understand what kind of person intentionally records a stranger, knowing that if things don't go well, they can still turn it against the stranger. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, he was just trying to be like, other girls have rolled into these types of videos and said, "I didn't know I was being recorded. Screw this guy." And the comments will be like, "It's not illegal to record in public, bitch." Like, so her feelings are worthless, right? Like, she's not allowed to feel violated because you recorded her.
Oh, that's an unfortunate world we live in nowadays where everybody can just, you don't know what's going on or if there's hidden cameras or whatever out in public. And I don't know how long all this is going to last this way.
I think AI might kill a lot of it because AI is going to sort of saturate these platforms to a level that I think we're underestimating right now. Funny story. A guy who was running an AI platform met me at a party a little while ago, and he's like, "We can make anything photorealistic. You give us a prompt, come to our studio next week." Like, one of his friends liked my content. They introduced us. And he's like, "So what kind of content do you want to make?" Like, thinking I would like pick like adventure, like, space age stuff. And I was like, can you make a video where I like give a homeless guy money and food and then he cries? He's like, "Yeah, but why would you want to do that?" I'm like, I want to prove a point.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the subject of like, I don't care if it was fake. It made me happy.
No, the
right?
sad truth of that is it would work.
Oh, it would work great.
That's the sad
You know how I
truth.
know it would work? Because I've seen several videos go viral already. AI hasn't quite mastered dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay. But it will. But it's like a little girl in like a war-torn city receiving a lollipop. And her eyes are just a little too big. So it's clear. So it's AI. But for like millions of likes on Threads.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, once they nail, like, I'm not saying you'll be out of a job, but in the event, like, in the event that they nail kindness content with AI, I mean all content with AI in general, but especially pity content. Do you remember when the LA wildfires
Yeah,
happened?
yeah, of
Did you
course.
see those AI generated things of firemen?
Yes.
And it's f'd up.
Yeah.
It's f'd up that you make a post and you're like, look at our heroes saving deer, and it's like a very dramatic, shot of a fireman holding a deer walking out of a forest. And, it takes you about 3 seconds to realize it's fake. But by then, the algorithm got you. The completion rate, that it's only a 5-second video. So the completion rate is satisfied. It's going to push that it's going to push that video to another person. And then your hate comment, I don't like AI, screw you. Now it's been pushed to another person. Now it's got 5 million views. And it's just a matter of time before this sort of like ramps up. I feel like it's like an algorithmic thing, like obviously, but not logarithmic. I think that's what I meant, where like it stays sort of like solid and then like whoop, and then
Oh, yeah.
I've even thought about it. I've made some AI generated videos of me that'll like brain rot, and I just haven't pulled the trigger on it because I don't want to contribute to the mess
Mm.
at this time. But it
But
may.
your channel, I mean, no offense, I don't think it would hurt it. And I don't mean in like a bad way,
No,
like
no, no, no.
like
It wouldn't hurt. I do post a lot of
people,
stuff.
like anybody who realized that it wasn't what it is and that it gets AI, they're like, hey, that actually came out pretty good.
There are actually a couple of videos that already took off overseas that are like a guy reacting to AI content. So those
Oh
videos.
wow, yeah.
Those videos where something crazy will happen, like a guy will get into a horrible accident on a boat, and then an influencer will be green screened, like wearing a sailor suit, like do this
Mm.
and react. They did that to AI generated content. Like a baby was like in the water with an alligator, something like that. And
Oh
it's AI
man.
generated, but then they've got a guy reacting to it like in the woods, and it got like did really well. But
Wow.
the point
Yeah.
is that it didn't take them very long to do. They
No.
plugged the prompt into the AI generator. They had the dude react to it, and out spews money from these platforms. Um, w-
I don't know. That's why, like, I'm again, like, the short form stuff is just it's kind of worn me out a little bit because I want to be more authentic. I want to show more of what I'm doing. I want to spend more time with people, building more relationships. And I've always done that. I've always felt like I've been a long form creator that didn't know how to edit and didn't know how to film and ended up just making shorts because that's where I started with iMovie and I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, in the beginning, I used iMovie. My videos would be 16:9, and then I would have to edit it. Eventually, I'd move it 90 degrees, and I'd move everything up and down, and then I'd put it on my desktop, and then I'd rotate it back 90 degrees, and that's how I cropped my videos in the beginning. Total mess, but I didn't know any better, and nobody taught me anything. It worked, and then I learned Adobe, and now I'm using DaVinci, and I've gotten a little bit better at understanding it all, and I'm going back through old content and like putting together longer stories of people or multiple encounters with them and where we got to and updates with them at the end. And it's nice that I'm finally able to do that because there's a lot of stuff that people never got to see. And in the shorts, I had to cut so much out.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it more again. And in the beginning, I did, but then it got to a point where, everybody else is doing stuff that is just grabbing more attention. They're not going the extra mile. They're not doing all this other stuff. They're doing the real quick one and done. Here's a couple bucks or whatever it is. And everybody's loving it. And I'm over here trying really hard to do more. And I found that I think you can build a better subscriber base on YouTube with people that actually want to stick around. And the way that it's not like there's a For You page and whatever. Like if people subscribe to you, they're going to see your videos. On TikTok, you could have you can have millions and millions of followers, but
TikTok is insane. Yeah, I know.
yeah. So I'm finding a home of where people really appreciate what I do and want to support it. And it feels better compared to trying to make the For You page, and I most time with trying to make the For You page, I'd get lucky sometimes and a video would just like be that attention grabbing. A lot of times it wouldn't. Didn't matter, but I put them out there.
Yeah, but it's still disheartening to put a certain modicum of effort into something and then it tanks, whereas like a cheeseburger video goes way crazier.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like I when I would get somebody something simple or not spend a lot of money, I almost didn't want to share it because I felt like I wasn't doing enough.
Yeah.
But then, like, my fiance reminded me to put that stuff out there to show people that it doesn't take a lot. And I think a lot of these other guys have built this standard, which I don't even know is real. Of it takes $500 to make someone's day.
Yeah.
It takes
I've
$1,000.
made a lot of jokes about like inflation and kindness content. Like, oh, you didn't give me $10,000? Well, that's not enough for kindness.
Yeah.
Because they've set like when they do this type of content, they're putting out these like fables. Like, if you give to a homeless man, he might actually give you $10,000. And it's just psychotic. Like, it doesn't really work that way. Mr. Beast
No.
is not hiding behind the corner waiting to give you a bag of money.
You never know.
You
No, I'm
never
just
know.
kidding.
You never know. I tear off my mask. It's me, Mr. Beast, and this has been a test.
No, I mean, and that was the point, is just like remind people that it doesn't take a lot. Sometimes a little bit of a conversation and then just asking somebody what they really like, what they would want right now, and being able to provide that, even if it's just a dollar cheeseburger or something, well, we don't even really have dollar menus anymore, but the $2, $3 menu, like
With
that can make a
inflation, it's like
difference.
$6.
Yeah, it does. But at the same time, I appreciate the videos where I go the extra mile, or maybe get someone back, get them housed, or totally make their day, or turn their situation completely around. Those are my favorites. But a lot of my videos, a lot of people don't realize. I think, there's anywhere from 3 to 7 hours of footage that I've turned into like a 1-minute video in the past.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of freaking work. And occasionally I get one where I go get someone gas or something, and it's like, oh, I got 5-10 minutes. This one's easy to edit. This will help me work more on this one here. But those were rare in comparison. Most of my videos were at least 2 to 3 hours minimum, and some were 5, some were even more than that I have to break down into a 2 or 3 minute video.
Mhm.
With a long form video, I don't have to do that. Yeah, I'm still breaking it down into a 20 minute or something that is, there's no dead air. Like, we want it to be entertaining. You want to watch it. You want to keep people's attention. But at the same time, I get to show pretty much everything that happened, and I enjoy that. It's more fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Again, I'm still going to be very critical of anybody who is deceptive, but I do hope that your audience sort of sees this, and maybe it'll resonate with like a further audience. But I think certain people deserve to be supported, and certain people deserve to be put in the garbage can. And it takes sometimes a little bit of thinking analyze who's who, because they can present very similarly online. And when I make some of my content to criticize this stuff, sometimes it is completely misinterpreted, and that bothers me. A video I made recently got reposted, and somebody didn't know it was ironic.
Mm-hmm.
It was a video where I'm sleeping at a counter of a sandwich shop, and a woman comes in, sees me asleep, hits buttons on the register indicating that she's paying. Then she goes back into the kitchen and makes a sandwich and then leaves. And it's supposed to be kindness, like, oh, what a kind woman. This was inspired by a series of videos where this happens non-ironically, where they have just a fake security camera. People come in, they notice a cashier is asleep, and they put cash and they wave it in front of the security camera, and they put it like underneath something, and then they take whatever product they bought. But it's so disturbing to me that like this is the type of you want to just fake that somebody's nice to a sleeping cashier. Like, this is psychotic. You're going to pretend this is real life. This is stupid. But somebody reposted it sort of thinking it was non-ironic. And some of the comments, after being told it's fake, they said this. They said, I don't care if it's fake. It made me feel good. And I responded, I said, that is literally the opposite of how I want you to feel. I want you to say, I see that this is fake, and because it is fake, I do not feel good. I see that this is fake, and I have been lied to. And as a result, my enjoyment of this is less. If you've ever been in a relationship and you've been cheated on or mistreated, the nice dinner they take you out to doesn't make you feel as good.
No.
Right? It's makes you feel like not as good, because context is key. And it worries me that a lot of people will bend over backwards to defend their feelings in the moment when they could just easily admit, you know what? I was lied to. This person didn't really give the homeless man $30,000.
I guess like that's a good question I didn't really think about though, but like if people really don't care and knowingly they know it's fake, they're totally okay with it. They get a feeling that makes them happy. Just like watching a movie, you know everybody's an actor, but there's something that happens there
I'm
that
glad you
like.
said that. When people come at me with that one, they're like,
Yeah.
well, it's fiction, so what? It's just like watching a movie. Let me ask you a question. You ever gone to the Mission Impossible trailer and said, wow, Tom Cruise is such a good spy. I'm so glad he saved the world. Have you ever said that?
No.
Because
yeah.
context, what short form content has done to us is it's blurred the line between fiction and reality very effectively.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
when they say it's not like a movie, I simply say it's definitely, when people say it's like a movie, I say it's definitely not like a movie because a movie is presented as fiction. Hey, if I told you right now, I had a video on my phone of 6 guys getting shot, would you be shocked?
Yeah.
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 And what if I told you it was Die Hard? It was Bruce Willis's Die Hard.
I wouldn't be as shocked.
Because one is, I mean, I don't understand the difference. But 6 guys are getting shot. It's the same thing, right? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Because the artist, I won't even call them artists in this case, but the person, depending on what they're trying to do, if they're trying to trick you into thinking it really happened to improve engagement. I do that with the coffee tosses. I make it as ridiculous as possible, but still the beginning is sort of believable.
Yeah.
But I turn it on the audience and I view it personally as a lesson and me saying, look how easy it was for me to trick you.
You do that a lot in the beginning of your videos. It's familiar. It looks like it almost just like something else you've seen. And then toward the end, you start doing some stuff where you're like, oh, wow.
Well,
but it's funny.
That's part of the point is that it sort of offends me when people, take the concept of something that could be really happening, co-opt it, and their idiot fans say, well, it's the same as a movie. There was a woman who she released a bunch of like sort of sad videos about like her husband is currently like hitting her, like she's hiding in a closet or something. And of course it went viral. And then she was like, nah, that was actually a reenactment. That happened like a year ago, but I was just reenacting it. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy. Like sorry, I burped.
It happens.
You shouldn't sell something as real when it's not, just because the audience is too stupid to understand it. And this sort of cycles back to our conversation, is like the differences between your content, Surthy Cooks, the other people who I consider gray or even good, versus the Josh Little Jays of the world and the Peter Bonds who like have no compassion for their subjects, deceive their audience on the regular. And the audience, I just wonder where their parents are at. I'm like, did your mom not teach you what a scam was? My dad taught me like I'm a kid, I'm dumb, I believe everything. He's like, no, son. This is what a scam looks like. Here is the reason why I believe so. This person is just selling snake oil. Like, I feel bad for people who can't see through the veil, because to an educated person who's in the space of creators, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
And it makes,
I mean, for me,
go ahead.
With some of them, I don't, like you mentioned Peter, you mentioned Josh, and like, I mean, maybe I try to see the good in everything and believe the truth.
And Nate's a nice guy. This isn't you trash talking anybody. This is 100% me trash talking.
But I'm saying is like, I watch their content and I don't see, like, I don't know for sure, is it real or is it not? And I never really knew where I stand with a lot of it. But like, for me, again, the point that has always bothered me is just like, I couldn't do just that and not try to do more. If I really am helping people, I'm going to want to go a step further and do more. But my question for you is, you seem to have gathered a little bit of information about some people out there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, is you have proof about these people, what you think they have done, these allegations?
I do have one particular person that I have amassed some information on, that in the event I release it or act on it, like it'll be a CoffeeZilla style video that I'm like,
I like his video.
Here's what happened. But I'm not going to drop any of it until it is until I am completely solid. I mean,
Okay.
like full expose, because I feel like it's important for the world to know. I feel like I can't really blame people for being tricked when they're shown, kind images. But again, part of the reason I hate this content so much is because it's the one type of content where I feel like the intention of the creator and the image of the creator, it can be the furthest apart. Like me, I'm an asshole comedian. I make fun of people. I make jokes about like drugs and sex workers and stuff. Like, it's not that weird for me to be a jerk. You know what I mean? But if you say you're the nicest guy in the world and you're only here to help the community, and you actively use your platform to hurt people or
Yeah,
embarrass
no,
them,
that's not cool.
that's what makes me so crazy, is because within kindness content, you have this interesting mix of intention versus reality, fan deception, fans who will defend them to the ends of the earth because they just don't understand what's going on. They don't see what I do. You know what I mean? And to try and explain it to them, Mark Twain said it's easier to con someone than to convince someone they've been conned. And he's right. It's
Yeah.
like if you've been conned by one of these guys, when I tell you they're bad, I've now sort of insulted you. I'm telling you, you're a little gullible. You're easy to trick. And because of that, now that person's going to feel a little dumb. They're going to react
You
viscerally.
feel insulted.
And they'll feel insulted, and they'll just go to bat for that person. And it takes a long time to convince somebody they've been conned.
You got to
know what
have
I mean?
some serious proof. You
And
got to show receipts.
The thing is, I'm going to show receipts. Like video context helps me sort of analyze this. You know what I mean? Like if you think you're such a nice guy and you release a video that hurts someone, you should delete the video. If you truly are a member of the community, you know what I mean? There was a group of guys.
Yeah, and come clean. Like, say what happened. Like, you know what? Like I said, hey, I'm just Nate. And we're just human, and we can all make mistakes.
Yeah.
But we can also admit to our mistakes, and we can try to make things right. And that's just doing the right thing. But if you never even make an attempt to do anything right, you never take a step to. You don't even have to delete it. You can make it private, whatever. You don't hurt your account, whatever.
I think
I did that once. I deleted a bunch of my videos. Totally hurt my account. There was a couple that I helped, and the outcome, due to some of her own choices, didn't really work out that well.
Got it.
And she, like, at some point, I tried to do the best I could to tell it in a way in which, we still got a good outcome, because we did. I mean, overall, I still think, again, back to the failures, right? When you try to help someone forever and they still end up in a bad spot, I don't really see it as a failure, because we still did things along the way. We still had accomplishments, but she wasn't happy with where she was at afterward. Not because of any of my doing, but she didn't want it on the internet anymore. So she changed her mind. So I deleted the videos, but come to find out, I should have just made them private, because it actually hurt my account for like 2 months. All my everything changed.
Was it a lot of videos?
It was, a handful.
Oh, God.
It was a handful. At the time, though, the unfortunate thing is it involved a GoFundMe. So on this note, I did this, and then GoFundMe actually almost banned my account, because people started complaining that I took the money and did things that, whatever with it. I didn't use it for what they donated for. But that's because I couldn't show them where it went, because she didn't want me to.
Got it.
And that's back to when I say, like, if somebody doesn't want to be on camera and all, it's really hard to raise money for them and show what we're doing with all these funds and be transparent. Is now people are going to start to get suspicious. I would always do what I said I was going to do, but I can't show it, so it gets really difficult, really sticky. And that's, again, another element to GoFundMe's that is just difficult. Yeah. I see these other guys do them, and they just hand out the money, and they get the reaction, and it's over. And a lot of times, if you don't get to the root cause of the problem as to why this person's in that spot that they're in, they're probably going to get back in that same spot.
I did see one of those videos, I don't know, must have been a year and a half ago, where like some guy got helped by a GoFundMe, and then there was literally like a video. I don't even think it was posted by the original influencer, but like somebody spotted him still like on the street selling brooms or something. It's like, I thought this guy got life-changing money.
Yeah.
Why is he still on the street selling brooms?
There's videos out now about Extreme Home Makeover or something like that. That show back in the day where they would put people out, like, instead of just totally making over their home and keeping it the way they would turn it into like this mansion, and then all of a sudden their overhead's higher than their rent was, and now they can't afford to even keep the house, and they end up losing it. So now they're in an even worse spot than they were originally. That's a tough spot.
In conclusion, What we've learned today is that
Yeah.
do your best if you want to help people. Like, just be upfront about it. You know what I mean? If you want to chase the views, like, you know, I would advise doing it another way rather than exploiting people. I mean, at the very least, I've gotten to know Nate better from this conversation and from chatting with him online. Uh, there's ways to do it that aren't going to earn you the ire of weirdos on the internet.
The thing is, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do for anything throughout your life, whether you're making videos or not, is just be yourself and be honest.
Be honest. You know what? We can agree on that. Being honest will help you in relationships, in business, and it might hurt in the short term, depending on what your
But the
situation.
long term is always going to be better.
You know, I'll tell you, the guy I'm going to release the CoffeeZilla video on, like, because he was dishonest for a long time to a lot of people, it's not tough to find information. And it sort of like makes me a little depressed. I'm like, if somebody tried to dig up dirt on me, would they have this much luck? And the answer is no, because I don't really lie to anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I'm always me. Hey, it's Brad. I'm gonna make some
and I mean,
videos.
there's probably always somebody throughout everybody's life that, like, you know, wasn't too happy with something that was said or that happened that might be willing to make some things up. Whatever.
No,
We've seen that happen
true.
1,000 times.
That's why I got.
But when you start getting a ton and it starts adding up and there's a trend, you're like, okay, this is more than just somebody making up a story.
Yeah.
There's some truth to this.
I feel like I really appreciate you taking the time to meet me and host me on your platform.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, dude.
This was cool. Like this, you know, I don't know if you learned anything, but I definitely learned a lot about you. And
no, it was really fun to speak with someone who sits on the other side and be able to have a conversation, because you know, a lot of people would think you wouldn't do this, right? And a lot of people think I wouldn't do this.
Yeah,
but
it's a weird mashup.
It is. It is.
Weird mashup.
But we're here. We had an awesome conversation, and I enjoyed my time with you, dude.
Cool. Let's shake it out.
Yeah. Hug or a handshake?
Let's do it. Oh, I'll take a hug.
All right.
All right. Nice.